sir. I'm just starting to record now. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. Okay, you're telling me that you're getting my consent. Okay, that's good. I've granted my consent.
Thank you.
All right. So, and across different specialties here in the United States, I started out in med surg when I was on contract, and at the end of my contract, I moved over to critical care. So I've been doing critical care for a while now, and I've had additional certifications in med surg, in critical care, and in also cardiac medicine. Currently, I still work in the bedside. These days, I work as a travel nurse whenever I can see the job to do. And pretty much that's what my career has been so far in a nutshell.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Austin. I wanted to, find out from you, how has the journey been migrating from the United States, from Nigeria to the United States, coming over with your family and all that? Can you share your experience with us, please?
Yeah, I've been here so I came to the United States in 2016, actually March 2016. So that makes it a little over 7 years that I've been here in the United States. And I think it's one of the best, I would say it's the best decision I made for my career. When I was making that decision at that time, it was not very popular for people to leave Nigeria. And the kind of job I was doing at that time, it was a challenge leaving the university system to migrate to the US. But over the years, my career has grown in leaps and bounds, and I've seen very visible effects in my life, in the lives of my family, and people associated with me. So challenges, I call them opportunities for growth, and I believe I've grown in very significant ways. Um, but coming over here, adapting to a new system, a new country, a new form of practice, equipment, and all that. These were the things I would say, okay, yeah, these were some of the challenges, but like I said, I call them opportunities for growth. I like to see them differently.
Okay, thank you, sir. In terms of adjusting, especially for your kids, can you share with us experiences you had when they moved over their schooling, how they were able to adjust to the new environment?
Man, I think kids have a higher resilience than adults, really. They didn't have to really make any adjustments, except for that short period where they moved away from their friends in school. And kids make friends easily. They are more resilient than us adults. What do they worry about? Eat food, get clothed, play. So and they were very young. So it was easy for them to just get into the system immediately. And from just being at home alone before they got to the age of starting school, their accents changed. I would need I would need the older one to interpret what the younger one was telling me. So it wasn't so much of a challenge. So if you're coming in here and wondering how your kids are going to survive, they probably have more resilience than we as adults, because they don't have so much to contend with.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. That brings me to the next question. What actually motivated you? Okay, let me start by asking you, back home in Nigeria, there are lots of female in this profession. We want to know what actually motivated you, how you, found nursing profession worthy to become something that you as a male, would venture into. Can you share your journey with us?
Okay. I didn't find nursing. Nursing found me.
Okay.
It's a long story. I didn't find nursing. Nursing found me. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever imagine that I was going to be a nurse. Mm-mm. But I started that journey. I'll just summarize because it's a long story. I started that journey with the intention of just not being at home. I went into school of nursing because I didn't want to be idle at home, not doing anything. The plan was for me to leave once I got to university admission. 1 year went, admission did not come. I started falling in love with it. And that's how I completed the process. And I completed the process. I made attempts to actually leave nursing after my school of nursing days. By the way, I went to school of nursing in Abuja. And I made attempts to leave. I went to University of Nigeria in Nsukka to do a different course for 1 year. I wasted 1 year there. And then I found my way back in nursing. I went to do my BSc and that's it. So it wasn't something I chose. Nursing chose me. Let me put it that way. And I I believe that destiny brought me to this point.
Okay. Um, one, thank you, sir, for answering that question. Coming to this American journey, everybody has, reasons why they want to pursue American dream. Do you mind sharing with us what motivated you? What was the motivating factor behind this American dream journey, sir?
Thank you. I'll go back memory lane. Okay. When I was in school of nursing, I never knew that traveling abroad and practicing as a nurse was a thing to be desired or something to be done. So when I graduated from school of nursing, one of my classmates then called me one day and said, "Hey, do you know about this exam that those who want to practice abroad um, write?" I'm like, "No, I've never heard of it." And she told me somebody told her about it. Would I be interested? I said, "Well, let's try." She wrote to CGFNS in those days. We're talking about 2000, in the year 2000 now. She got the forms. I filled out the form. We sent it back. Um, in fact, she paid for my transcript, my first transcript to be sent, that was sent to CGFNS in those days. Then the closest place where CGFNS was written then was in Ghana. And here I was coming out from school, and my initial pay then was like 4,500, I think.
Mm.
And we started the process. And at some point, I realized that it wasn't something I could do because it warrant me traveling to Ghana to write the exam. So kind of everything just stopped there. And then I went to the university, did my BSc, did my youth service. But while I was in the university was when that hunger now came back. Now it was now something I wanted, not what somebody told me. It was now something that I wanted. I started preparing, and when I was done with service, started working. I wrote CGFNS, and I passed. I'm going through this story because I know that some questions will come up sometime. And I wrote CGFNS and passed in 2007. Got my visa, wrote my IELTS in 2008. Got my visa screen certificate. And then retrogression started. That was when the first time I heard retrogression. I know we're in a retrogression period now. And that retrogression lasted. Before retrogression started, I signed up with an agency then. I was so ready to leave Nigeria at that time. And then the agency told me that they couldn't continue because of retrogression. I heard that retrogression word from them first. So we waited. I kept on waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And that wait turned into an 7 to 8 years wait.
Hmm.
Yeah. The thing was this, I took my mind off it and continued with my life, And then sometime in 2015, I saw the visa bulletin. I saw that the priority date was like just 1 year back. I'm like, let me start this process again. By then, my visa screen had expired. So I started the process again, renewed my visa screen certificate, started contacting different agencies. And luckily for me, one day, my plan then was, okay, let me just get this thing done, see if I can come to the US, right? My Nclex pass, and then see if an agency will sponsor me while I'm still here on a visit visa. And then one day I found the agency that I came in with. I wasn't expecting anything. I applied, and from when I applied to when I got my visa was just 8 months.
Wow.
And I was here in the US.
Wow, awesome.
Now, in the intervening period, like your question was what motivated me. In the intervening period, I now saw the importance, what the difference between nursing back home in Nigeria and nursing here in the US. And I was like, okay, I wanted to be part of that, this kind of environment. Of course, I knew it was going to offer me a better opportunity for myself and for my family as well. So I decided to give it, to push on with it, and everything just clicked.
Wow. Thank you so much, sir, for that insight. So for some of us here that are thinking retrogression just started, that this is the first time we are having retrogression, we've heard from Mr. Austin Christopher, it's not just now. Retrogression is something that will come and it will also go. And one thing I picked from what he has just said, retrogression should not stop you. In the midst of the retrogression, he was busy pursuing other things. He removed his mind from even the process and focused on other things. All right. So in the midst of this retrogression, don't just think, oh, my whole hope is gone. Okay. Just continue what you're doing. Many of us here, we have so many things that we're saying, oh, when we come to America, don't let your dream die because of American journey. No, just continue what you are currently doing. Thank you, sir, for that insight. All right, so you've answered my next question, which was how long your process took. You actually answered everything I wanted to ask now. So the next question I have for you is communication in the United States. How did you manage it? They used to tell us, oh, you have an accent and all that. Tell me how you were able to cope in the midst of, in a new environment, communication and all that. Share your experience with us, please.
Okay, thank you. I mean, it's so funny. The truth is that everyone has an accent. The English language, what we all have our first language, even for those for whom English is a first language, they speak it in different. Someone is there's somebody who is not mute. There is
Please, when I do, kindly unmute yourself, Mr. Austin.
I think it's can you mute Louisa? Okay.
Okay, let me look for him.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
So everybody has an accent. That should give you some comfort. The British person speaks English in a different way. The American person generally speaks English in a different way. Even right here in America, there is something called the Bostonian accent. There is something called the Southern accent. It's all different. I live in the state of Maine. Even though I can't really hear, I don't know what the Maine accent sounds like, but they will always say that Maine has an accent. So when you understand it, it takes your anxiety away, because sometimes the communication Where we have difficulties is when we have this anxiety or fear that will not be understood.
Mm-hmm.
So when we have that fear, it affects our communication. Our communication becomes dysfunctional. So what we do, what I encourage people to do is be confident in yourself. Whatever you need to say, be confident in what you want to say. Don't be concerned about how it comes out. Somebody's going to tell you, say it again. Say whatever you're told to say it again, paraphrase. As much as possible, don't try to speak too fast. Pick your words one after, they call it elocution. Just pick your word one after the other. A big challenge that I see a lot of people face is this. You come in, you have not even mastered how they call different things around, because remember, they call things differently from the way you already know. Water.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying start pronouncing water.
Mm-hmm.
It is water. You talk about the long wear that men wear from their waist down. What is it called? We call it trousers, isn't it? In the US, it is called pants. Back home in Nigeria, in British English, when you say pants, we are talking about briefs, which is like an inner wear. So if you get to understand those differences, one, please don't try to get, when you first get in here, don't try to get into that mode of trying to speak to imitate their accent, because you would sound so funny.
That's right.
You sound so funny when you try to imitate the accent. Also, be in the habit of not taking offense when somebody asks you to say it again. They truly don't understand or hear, or truly don't understand what you said. And when you don't understand when somebody says, tell the person to also repeat what they said in a very courteous manner. That way, you get better with the communication as it goes. And another thing I encourage people to do is put yourself in a position where you get to hear these accents spoken a lot of times. Watch movies. If your church or religion forbids watching American movies, is gospel you like to listen to preachers that are preaching in the American preachers. The more you listen to all this, it's not every day you sit down and watch Nollywood. So the more you hear people speak in the accent that you're going to be coming into, it shouldn't be a challenge for you. You'll get used to it. You see, accent. I had a patient one time that told me, he was like, I don't know whether he's right or wrong, but once you get exposed to a new language after you turn 12, give up. Forget the accent. You won't get the new accent. You can speak the language, but that accent you already developed will not change.
Mm-hmm.
And I tend to agree. So don't force yourself. Your kids, like I said, kids can be at home just watching YouTube and they start speaking the American accents without interacting with anybody.
Yeah.
But for us adults, yes, we can learn a new language, but that accent, that thick African accent, will probably not go away. It can get better over time, but it will still be there.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you so much, sir, for that. This is one major challenge, a lot of people have when they come in. I remember then in EAG group, everybody was complaining. When I come to work, they keep telling me I have accents. And now nobody is even talking about that anymore, because everybody is managing the communication issue very well from experiences shared in the group by others. Just be yourself. That's all. Okay, Mr. Austin. My next question goes this way. You came in with Avant Healthcare Professionals. We all know that. Did you complete your contract with them? And what was your motivating factor for you to have completed that contract, if you did?
Yes, I completed my contract, really. And I had no regrets completing my contract. I understood it was a contract. My contract then, I can't remember exactly how many hours it was for, but I had what they call a conversion threshold, whereby I'll meet a certain number of hours and I can convert and become a permanent staff of the facility where I worked. So there was no question about me not completing my contract because, one, like you said, it's a contract. And remember, there were other agencies that I couldn't get into because of their conditions at the time. And then I had an agency that was willing to take me through the whole process, pursue the immigration process for me, sponsored me to take the Nclex, brought me over to the United States. Of course, they didn't bring my family, but they fight for my family. Brought me over to the United States, and then I'm here working for them, working in. And I understand they didn't have a hospital, so they have obligations to the facilities where they sent us to. And I felt it was more the morally upright thing to do, to stick by that contract. Another added advantage for me was that the facility where I was very receptive. So I got my contract done in like 18 months, and then I converted to the hospital. And I worked in that hospital for 5 years until I started traveling. And it's based on that I live where I am now.
Wow. You mean after your contract with your agency, you still stayed back and worked in that same hospital for 5 good years? Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
so,
correct.
Austin, what do you think is the benefit? What was the benefit for you completing your contract?
Like I said, number one, it's a moral obligation. It's a moral obligation. I understand it's a contract. One should be able to keep his or her words. Number two, if I don't complete my contract, I understand that not completing my contract can affect the relationship my agency had with the facility that is posting people to. And they could also be losing money if I break my contract because they have obligations to keep. So I was able to, that's pretty much, these are the things that kept me at my contract at the time. And I'll just add something, that completing my contract at my facility and all that opened the doors for a lot more persons to be brought to my agency. As at the time I came, I was the only Nigerian at my facility. But over time, the last time I bothered to count, that was maybe sometime in 2020, I was able to count at least 30 Nigerian nurses at my facility. Just Nigerian nurses, not international nurses.
Wow.
So you see the goodwill it breeds. Now, I understand some people may have one challenge or the other why they need to break contract and all that. Some people will tell you, oh, they are not paying me enough, or I have family in, my family is in Texas or in California. I want to be close to my family. Oh, this place is too cold. this place does not have, there are too many whites in this place and all that. Yes, valid reasons. But it's a contract. It's for 2 years or at most 3 years. I came in with a mindset to complete my contract. If I don't like it here, then I can move somewhere else when I complete my contract. But here I am today. I never planned to stay in Maine. So it's important that if you're on a contract, have that mindset that you want to complete your contract. Yeah, for some reason, some things happen along the way that make it impossible to complete your contract. Yes, there are, amicable ways of separating from your contract where you meet certain obligations and your agency will set you free and then you go somewhere else. Say, I'll give some of those reasons. I mean, you might want to ask me that. Say, for instance, you work in a facility that is not very receptive, very hostile environment. And then you work with your agency and they're not able to find you an alternative. That's a valid reason for telling your agency, hey, I'm ready to work with you. But now that it's been, sometimes the agency actually suggests it to you, okay, we can let you go. This is how much you're going to pay us back and all that stuff. And you go. Sometimes people have changes in family situations that affects the harmony in the family and all that. If such a thing happens and you feel you are going to get more support somewhere else, these are valid reasons. But whatever it is, whatever reasons you have is something that you have to work with your agency to resolve, and not just wake up one day and tell your agency, I not do again.
Thank
And
you.
understand that when you're breaking your contract, there are terms in your contract that says you probably would owe your agency a certain amount of money. You work with them to pay that money, even if you're not going to be able to pay it outright. But just understand one thing: a contract it's not just a legal obligation; it's also a moral obligation that you need to keep.
Wow. Thank you very much, sir. I honestly picked something from what you just said. You said when you came to your hospital, it was just you that is the only Nigerian nurse. And now you can count up to like 30 people in that facility that are Nigerian. So that's, it's so surprising that you were able to make ways for such number of people to come, because assuming you didn't finish your contract, assuming you decided to, oh, please, they are not paying me well, let me just break this contract and go, those people would not have been there. That facility would not be able to employ anybody from Nigeria again. Let me use the word Nigeria because that's where you are from. They will believe that, oh, people from this particular country, they don't finish their contract, or they will even stop recruiting people from Advanced Healthcare. They will not be able to take anybody from Advanced Healthcare anymore. But because you were able to complete your contract, you still had, and now Maine is one of the when you talk about Nigerian community, sometimes we envy people in Maine that, oh wow, they have a huge number of Nigerian community there. As in, when I say, I think they are the most in number when it comes to people that have migrated to the United States, because they have a huge support there. Mr. Austin has been a huge support. He's there to welcome them. He's there to, guide them. Those at work, he goes around to ask them how they are doing. This is one big, as in the kind of support he gave them. And that's why many of them are still living there till now. Many of them are still living in Maine because Mr. Austin made their coming to America very easy. Their landing was so soft. So finishing contracts is a moral obligation. Right now, when you came into the United States, Mr. Austin, what they were paying you then, I think it was actually nothing compared to what they're paying now. And even at that, you were able to cope with, your salary then to, feed and support your family and all that. But now, I don't know what's going on. People are even planning to break their contracts even while they are still at home. And it is not a good practice. Honestly, let's justify what we are doing. These people are in business, and if you have a good reason to break your contract, you must have an agreement with your agency. You can't just wake up and tell them, I'm not working. No. So thank you, Mr. Austin, for that opportunity you gave to so many of us, those in Maine that were able to adapt, work in a favorable environment because they have somebody like you. Thank you, sir, for, completing your contracts. We really appreciate you for doing that. I want to ask you this last question, then I'll open the floor for questions. Please, if you have questions, this is the time to start typing your questions in the comment section, because after this last question, I will take all your questions from the group. Mr. Austin, tell us how you adapt culturally, when you come to a new country. What we do here, what we do in Nigeria is not what they do here. Many things look so different, both food, so many things. Tell us how you were able to adjust, sir.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I think cultural adaptation, first of all, you would have to have an open mind. You go into a certain place. I mean, we already adapt culturally in Nigeria, don't we? How many of us here actually live in the same place where we were, not where we were born, but where we originate from? Like, how many of you live in your own village where you call your ancestral home? I doubt not many of us. Many of you may live in the same geopolitical zone where you speak the same language, but you don't live in the same place where you actually come from. Some of you are from the east and you live in the north or in the west. The same thing from those who are in the west. You live in different parts of the country. We're already adapting. Some of you have migrated out of Nigeria to the United Kingdom, and you're already adapting. What makes it easier for you is to keep an open mind. Don't go to a new place with preconceived ideas about a certain group of people. You may have heard different things, you may have been told different things, but when you keep an open mind, you deal with people based on what they present to you. And every culture is rich in its own sense, as long as you're able to pick out the aspect of the culture that agrees with you and assimilate it, and then learn the culture that that you're not conversant with. And culture encompasses a whole lot of things: the way people do things, the way they dress, the way the
Justin, can you unmute yourself, please?
No, okay, yeah. So the way they eat, if it's for food, there's a wide range of food for people to eat. All you need to do when you come to a new place is to begin to learn the ones that you can tolerate and the ones that you cannot. And
Mr. Austin, we can't hear you, sir.
can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So in terms, the world is now a global village. When you want to eat, as if you want to still stick with your African diet, you can get it. You either get it shipped from home, or you go to certain stores around you
Mr. Austin, we can't hear you, sir.
Hello, Steph
Yes,
D.
sir. Yes, sir.
I'm not the one muting myself.
Wow.
We can hear you.
Steph D,
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
there are some people whose mics are working right now. About there in Cecilia.
I just muted all. Unmute yourself, please. I just muted everybody right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So the only thing is that it's going to cost you a little, probably cost you a little more to get those things if is something that is very important to you. If it's clothing, you can get your clothing. Probably not from here. You might be able to get them from Nigeria and all that. If it is church, there might be some. You might not see the actual church. You probably won't see your Odozio Obodo church here, but you probably see Redeem somewhere or Winners somewhere. There's always Catholic church everywhere. So these are things that help you assimilate. And let me tell you one thing. It doesn't matter for how long you've lived in the United States, you keep learning and learning and learning and learning something. Nobody has seen everything all.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much, Mr. Austin. We appreciate your time joining us tonight. Talking about cultural adaptation, like you said, till today, I still buy some things I need from Nigeria because I'm one of those that I find it difficult to to cope with the food here. So, but it's not everything actually that you have to come into the country with. There are some things, there are good African markets here that you can buy foodstuffs from. All right. So that brings us to the end of this session. Now let's take questions. I have Olani asking, with your wealth of experience in the land, will you advise a direct employment or agency, and why?
Okay. Well, I think basically I'll come with it. Let's just get around this term. All of it, they are all agencies. Direct employment, whatever. They're all agencies. And the reason I say that is because those hospitals that take you directly as their own staff still have to go through it, have to use the agencies to get you in the first place, while they sponsor the immigration process. And at the end of the immigration process, the only thing is that you come in, when you come in, you are in that facility working as their own staff. So they pay you directly, they offer you benefits and all that. But even at that, you are still there on a contract. You're on a contract for a certain number of years. So the only added benefit is, they can offer you, you get the insurance through them, you get their maybe PTOs. Of course, the agencies will also have PTOs. Sometimes their pay may be marginally higher than the pay that the other agencies will pay you. Now, an agency, for instance, like Avant or OGP, they take care of the whole process, bring you in, and then place you in a facility. And the facility pays them and they pay you. Now, at this point, it's mixed feelings. How would I put it now? It's a bit of mix. In my own case, my facility did not have to pay me anything. They paid my agency, and my agency paid me. But then, would I have changed it for anything? I don't think I would have changed it for anything. because the facility I was at didn't make me feel like I was an outsider.
Mm.
They took me as one of their own, which was why it was easy for me to seamlessly move in. I have seen people who are so-called direct hire and they get into facilities and those facilities were a mess.
Mm-hmm.
Many of them have had reasons to break their contracts. So it's all a mixture of two different things. It works for some people, it doesn't work for some people. The question, just like you're asking, should I marry a fair man or should I marry a dark person? Should I marry a short woman? Should I marry a tall woman? There is no guarantee that each of these people can give you happiness. That's how I see it. But whatever I say is, you see, whatever you're coming into is a contract for a specified period of time.
Yes.
However it is, if it is hot, if it is cold, that contract ends someday, and you are free to do whatever you want to do. I can't even remember I can't even remember what it felt like being on a contract right now. The challenges I felt, no, I can't even remember it because it's in my distant memory right now.
Mm. Okay. All right. Thank you, sir,
All
for
right.
answering that question. I have another question here from Ebere Uku, and she asks, "Good evening, Mr. Austin. How easy is it for one to bring over a spouse after you must have moved to the United States? For example, you got married after you moved to America." Can you answer that question, please?
Oh yeah. How easy is it to bring in your spouse? Okay, I'll start with this advice. If you're already married before this process starts, or while you're in this process, please come in with your spouse at the time you process your immigration stuff with that of your spouse. If you are not married and you're in a relationship that you know you're convinced is tending towards marriage and you're convinced about it, my advice is, get the marriage stuff going. If you think you don't have the time and all that to plan a wedding and all that, go do the traditional stuff, do a court wedding, get the paper, and they use it to begin to file. Then if you're not hooked up in any way, when you are here and you get married to someone that is not here, you will start the process of after you go, of course, I assume you go back to Nigeria, get married, do a wedding and all that, get all the evidence of relationship, and then you can start filing for your spouse. And it can take a very long time, no doubt about it. It might take you up to 2 years or even more before your spouse comes to join you, because you're going to file I-130. It gets approved. It gets sent to NVC. Just the same process you had your I-140 filed and everything. So is it easy? It's just going to take time. I believe it's easy, but it's just time. The time lag between the level you are in your relationship would differ.
Okay. Thank you for answering that
Okay.
question.
Yeah.
I have another question from Aderonke Oyewole. He or she is asking, "Good evening, sir. Will the agency salary be taxed, or is the salary per hour within on the contract not deducted?" I don't understand. Aderonke, if you want to rephrase your question and ask again, I don't really get the question. Mr. Austin, can you deduce anything from this question? Will the agency salary be taxed, or is the salary per hour within on the contract. I don't.
Not deducted. No.
Okay.
Okay. The United States or most Western countries are
Mommy, did you bake?
most and most Western
Mommy.
countries are countries that
Mommy,
I think the only country that I know, or the countries that I know that don't pay taxes are.
Justin, kindly unmute yourself. I just muted everyone, please, sir. Sorry about that.
Okay. So I think the only countries that do not get taxed are what do you call them now? The countries in the Middle East. So the amount you're seeing in that contract is going to be taxed. I don't want to get into all the intricacies of the taxation system and all that. If you're single, you tend to pay more tax than if you're married. If you have children, when you're filing your tax returns, you tend to get you tend to get some stuff coming back to you based on the number of children you have up to a certain age. So, and taxation, the taxation tax rates, the federal tax is the same across board. State taxes for some states that have taxes differ from state to state. There are a few states that don't get taxed at all. But what I tell people is when it comes to this tax deduction, this discussion is whatever it is, wherever you are, the cost of living will balance everything out.
Okay.
I hope I answered your question, Ronke.
Thank you, sir, for answering. We have more questions coming. Mercy is asking, can you explain renting a house in USA, apartment or house? What will you advise? What should one look out for?
Okay. The choice of whatever you're going to get depends on where you live or where you're going to be at. In some places, it is not easy to get houses to rent, say townhomes. In most places, what you find are lot of townhomes. But whatever it is, understand that when you're renting, consider it temporary. It's not something that you're going to do for the entire duration of your stay in the US. What the goal would be for you to, get to the point where you make a decision, where you make a decision to buy a house, get off from renting, buy a house and start building equity. But for when you're coming in the first time, you look at whatever is available in your area. You can search the internet, see what you can afford, see what is available, look at your family size, and then make a decision as to what you want. For the process of renting, typically you reach out to whoever has that housing, that property online. It could be an individual, it could be a property management company. You reach out to them online, you submit an application. They will ask you different questions if they think if they're considering your application, and then you start making they might want you to make an initial deposit before you move into the house and all that, and you start paying. And usually rents are paid monthly here.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, sir, for answering that question. I have another one coming from Musumola. She's asking, how long does it take to be a citizen?
Okay. Being a citizen takes once you come into the US, you automatically become a permanent resident. That's you coming into this process. And to become a citizen, if you came into this process, it requires 5 years of uninterrupted stay in the United States and also maintaining a clean record. When I mean uninterrupted, it does not mean that you cannot travel out of the US. You can go visit 1 month, 2 months, you come back, but you're not supposed to be out for a very extended period of time.
All right.
And it's not automatic anyway. Citizenship does not come automatically. You have to apply for it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I have a question coming from Star. How can I desensitize the mindset maybe of people that believe that land of America is a country of impunity? They brought religion to us. They brought religion to us, but do not practice it. That's a funny question.
All right. I would have avoided this question, but I will answer it. I'll answer it in a way. You see, first of all, let's go back. You need to understand your personal relationship with God. It is your relationship with God is not dependent on your environment. You need to understand that in the first place. They brought religion to you. That means they brought Christianity to you. Let's not say religion, because those of you who are Muslims would differ with that statement. They brought Christianity to Nigeria. Actually, they didn't bring Christianity anyway. Christianity came from the British through their colonization. But I know we look up to a lot of preachers here in the United States from Nigeria. On the last day, as a Christian, everybody would stand before God and give a personal account of him or herself. Now, let's go back to the Nigeria we're talking about. Do we practice religion in Nigeria? Honestly, let's be honest with ourselves. I'm not going to point hands at people or at denominations, or do we really practice what we call religion? Or are we just going to church to be seen, to make up the numbers? I mean, the same thing. Well, I can also push that to Muslims as well. And then some of you, I've heard people say, you come in with all the moral decadence in the US, the kind of clothes they wear, gay, that and that. Is it a nice place to raise children? What of my children and other? And I ask the questions. Let me ask. All those kidnappers, area boys, hookup girls, those taking Mkpuru in Nigeria, please, did they cross abroad? Where did they learn it from? These are some of the important questions you ask yourself. So this is like a personal decision. The environment itself is not what gets you where you are. It's your personal decision.
All right. Thank you for answering that question, Mr. Austin. Zimia is asking, she's thanking you for the presentation, and then she's asking, why are people discouraging others from California?
I don't think people are discouraging people from California, really. California is a wonderful place to be in. I haven't been there. I don't want to live there. But it is said that the cost of living is high. You can make it up by how much you earn. Of course, they pay much better. But people live there. California has I think the economy of California is just the state of California alone is probably among the top 10 in the world. Just California alone. So there's a lot of money, there's a lot of stuff going on in California. You know, one thing I realized again in these countries, you see, and people live there, they survive. People work there at CNS, they survive. People work there in Walmart, they survive. America is a land of opportunities that wherever you find yourself, if you manage yourself very well, understanding your environment and all, you will definitely survive.
That's right.
So if California is where you find a placement, I think West sends people to California these days. go there, stay there, finish your contract. If you want to stay back there, good and fine.
All right. I hope your question is answered. I'm gonna mute everybody again. This is coming from Princess. Okay, I just muted the person. All right. Mosumola is asking again, can one come over with his or her family on starting? What's taxation and housing like? I'm concerned about childcare. Please, what is it like?
Anyone paying by card?
Childcare.
567.
Childcare is one of the biggest challenges for people here in the United States. You would have to pay through your nose to be able to do that. If you're lucky enough to live in a place where you have family, friends, or colleagues that you interact very well with, I've seen people work together to see how they can take care of each other's children. I've seen people make friends even amongst people who live amongst the whites. You have people who have accepted you or received you into their home. Some of them can watch your kids while you're away at work. But other than that, you may have to pay a sitter to take care of your baby. Some people have also been fortunate enough to invite their parents over if they still have parents that could help, and they'll come over and they live with them and also help them.
All right. Hope your question is answered. The next person, Bankole, thank you for your wonderful presentation. Please, is it possible to negotiate the pay rate with the agency before signing the hospital contracts? Before signing the contracts?
Yeah, it is possible to negotiate your rate. The thing is that what is not guaranteed is if your agency is going to budge. A lot of times they already have standard rates, but I've seen a few times where people push them, and they eventually agree to they bump their pay a little bit. But like I said, you can initiate that conversation. Ultimately, the decision rests with your employer to determine whether they would agree to it or not.
All right. Thank you for answering that question. Mary Okereke is asking, she's just thanking you also for your wonderful presentation. And then she asks, how easy can one spouse who is not in the medical field get job or employment on arrival to the United States?
It is very easy to get job because there are lots and lots and lots of jobs to do. The question is it what the person wants? If the person is not in the medical field, what kind of job does this person want to do? There are jobs to do, and I don't think Nigerians really have this problem because we are hustlers by nature. The question is what most people do. It might not. You can start with anything, and then work your way up through training and studies to get to that job that you want to do. But getting a job is not a difficult thing. You can get a job the very first day you come in. You have your social security. Once you get your social security number and all that, you can go apply for a job somewhere and you get it.
All right. Mary, I hope your question is answered. Louisa is asking, she's thanking you for the wonderful presentation, and then she's asking, what's the best route to bring in a child cut off from family filing due to age, and how long can it take?
Okay, that's going to be it's going to be a long process. I would definitely, I will be very honest with you. If somebody ages out, By aging out, for those who don't know that, is say you have a child that is, by the time your immigration process is done and this child is over 21 years, it means that you cannot come in with them at that time. So what that means is that you're going to have to file for those for that child sometime in the future. I mean, the easiest way, the only way I know right now that you can do it for that person is after you become a citizen, you file for them. That's the only way I know right now.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Boss Austin. Ebere Nikiti. Please, how do we analyze a favorable agency before accepting?
Ebere, that's somebody I know from way, way, way back, many years ago. Okay. Is there a way of knowing what's a favorable contract? Yeah, there are certain things you probably look out for. You look at the number of hours you're going to be working. You look at their mode of first of all, what are they doing for you? If it's an agency that tells you that they're going to do a immigration process, they will pay for you, they'll sponsor you for Nclex, for instance, and in all this, and you are supposed to work a certain number of hours. They are not asking you to work crazy hours for them. And then their pay rate is also reasonable. And their conditions for terminating the contract is not one that is killing. Then based on that contract alone, you can say, yeah, this agency, I think I like how what they are doing. Another way of knowing what a favorable contract is knowing somebody who has worked with that agency to get like a first-hand information of what their experience is with that particular agency. And then, and the truth is, what works for one person may not work for another person. If you ask me what's the best agency in the world, I'll tell you Avant Healthcare Professionals. Many of you will not want to hear Avant Healthcare Professionals, or many people will not want to because they've probably had some bad experiences with them. So it's almost like a hit or miss. But one thing I would say is this: once you get a contract, don't be in a hurry to sign a contract. Read that contract very well. If it's possible, see if you can get another contract from another agency, and also look into their contract. Don't be in a hurry to sign a contract.
All right.
All right. I hope I answered that question.
Thank you so much, Mr. Austin. Thank you, sir. Please, can I process an invitation visa for a relative who is not among my dependents, like a mother with green card, or it must be when I have gotten my citizenship? This question is from Neka Chekube.
Anybody can actually apply for a US visa, whether it is mother or father or brother. The ultimate decision rests with the person, the consular officer who that person is standing in front at the embassy in Nigeria. I have seen many mothers being granted visas. I have seen many mothers denied visas. You never can tell until you apply. And they can decide to deny for any stupid reason. So you apply, try your luck, pray, and hope that they get granted the visa.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. Miriam Ukwani is asking, she's thanking you for the presentation, and she wants to know the best way to discipline a child in US without having issues with law of the land so that we don't spare the cane and spoil the child.
Okay. Well, child discipline is something that is specific to every parent. And we can't say there is a way for disciplining children in Nigeria and a different way for disciplining them here in the US. The only thing is that if you discipline children in some of the ways that you discipline them in Nigeria, there might be consequences with the system, because the system provides some protection for those children. Now, should you be flogging your child? That is not sparing the rod. I mean, when you flogging, sparing the rod does not mean get something and flog this child like as if I don't know how you get the heart to do that. But you know your child very well. You have to start inculcating. There are people in Nigeria who were never flogged as kids because maybe their parents learned a system to correct those children. And it is something that you need to, it's a work in progress. Nobody learns parenthood. Parenthood is not something that we sat down and learned. Most of us it came upon us just because we got married, we slept with our spouse, we had children, and we believe we know how to take care of children. So you have to be intentional in your understanding and in your application of parenting principles. You can learn it from the Bible. Sometimes the Bible is not very practical about what you need to do in this situation and need to do in that situation. If you want to attend classes, there are ways because the essence of discipline, in quotes, is to make children correct a certain undesirable behavior. Let us tell ourselves the truth. Those of us that were flogged, how many of us did flog and stop to do the bad things that we were doing as children? For many of us, it never did. But one thing I know that is very common is constantly talking with and talking to your children about what is right and what is wrong. If they fault, it's not everything that they do that deserves discipline or punishment. So it will get to the point where you probably deny them of certain privileges. That's a form of punishment or a form of discipline. They don't watch TV. You don't let them go hungry. They don't watch TV. They don't go out to play. They take a time out somewhere. These are things that you can do that doesn't inflict any physical harm on those children. And you can start it early, even while you're from Nigeria, not while you're in Nigeria, not just when you come over here. It won't come here and just begin to change. All right.
Thank you, sir. I think you did justice to that question. Chioma Christiana Okeke is asking, at what age can children be left alone at home?
Yeah, this is the one I can tell you I really do not know. I've not even looked, and I don't know if it varies from one state to another. I know that right now I can leave my 10-year-old at home with her siblings, and she'll be able to take good care of them. I have never done it because my mom lives with me. So, but it's going to vary from one state to another. It's not just based on age. Even when you get to that age, you would have to ask yourself, can those kids be left alone?
All right. Yeah, just like you said, it varies from state to state. I think Texas is from 13 years. I don't know about other states. It's something that you search on the internet and know at what age your child should be left alone. Please, if your child is little, if you are in doubt, always ask questions so you don't get into trouble. You don't leave a child in the house, and when you are not there, they will open the door and run outside, and they are playing, and you enter into trouble, especially when they are very little. Star is asking again, I'm a family of 6 and headed to Pennsylvania under direct hire. How much in dollar do you think we should have at hand that will facilitate our soft landing?
It depends. It depends. It depends on. I wouldn't say how much, because I cannot say this is how much this person is going to have. It all depends on your individual taste. Let's say I've seen people come into the US with as little as $1,000. They found a way and they made it through. They weathered the storm. It was not easy. And they went through. It all depends on your taste. If you want to come into the US and come in and be very comfortable from the moment you step foot in here, $10,000 might not be enough for you. But if you come in here knowing that you have limited resources, that you are in survival mode for the first few months of your stay here, then the little you have, you can manage it. You may come into I don't know if I don't know. I think I've shared it a few times. The first few pictures that I had, that I took when my family joined me, at that time, I didn't have any furnitures at all. So one day, my wife was sitting on a chair with our 2 kids then, and they were eating. There was no table. So what they used that day, I don't know what happened. They just brought like a big carton and used it to just place the food on top to eat. And I grabbed my phone. I took a picture of it. I still have that picture somewhere. Now, that was the days of early beginning. Truly, I didn't have the resources at that time to buy those tables, or I had the resources, but that table was not my priority at that time. Now, I can't count the number of tables I have in the house. I don't know how many I've thrown away. So it's just knowing your level. If you don't want to get too comfortable from the beginning, which I always advise, you will get comfortable at some point.
Definitely.
It's going to be tough at the very beginning. All right.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Austin. Please, when you're coming in, don't have the notion that America, that there's a place where you have tree that produces money. You go there and pluck money and buy whatever you want. It's not that rosy when you come in initially. It's not. Just start little. Enjoyment, it doesn't finish in America. What you don't have now, you definitely have it. It's just time. Give it time. All right.
Let me even add something to it. I don't know if somebody is going to ask that question.
Okay.
You see, what you see on social media, or you see somebody just cross and the next minute they post certain things, they take pictures of their vehicle, they take pictures in their houses, they go to certain places and take pictures. Please don't get deceived by all those things. I'm not saying those who are posting it that they're not doing anything wrong. They feel good in themselves. They are probably appreciative of their new environment. But don't see those things as a sign that they have arrived. And to the point where it puts too much pressure on you to want to get to that point just as soon as you come in. Some of you already have friends who just came. They'll tell you, oh, you will see those friends that within 1 year of them being in the US, they're already buying lands, and they're telling you the houses they've bought or how much they've sent down to their families and all that. Look, don't follow. That was probably their own priorities at that time. Don't always go by what you see. At the end of the day, you will get to that point. Everybody does not get to that point at the same time. Whatever is not a priority for you, while you're back home in Nigeria, wherever you are. Don't come into the United States and think that that thing becomes a priority for you, maybe within your first year, 1 year of being here in the US. Say you have a land that you have never thought about whenever you're going to start building, and you cross over to the US, and the next thing you want to do is to start developing that land. You get your time. You do all that you want to do. Okay.
All right, thank you, sir. Coming from Ojinonye, please, I have a niece whose father is late and has been living with me up to 6 years now. We have legally adopted her as her mom is not capable to fend for her needs. Is it right for me to include her in my immigration process?
Well, I will defer to your immigration attorney that works with your agency. But if you ask me to hazard a guess now, I would say if you have legally adopted that child and you have the documents proving that adoption, and you have legally adopted that child within you've been with that child and that process has been completed for at least 2 years, then by all means you can add the child in your immigration process, so long as you have the documents, legal documents proving that.
I hope your question is answered. I think that's the last question we have here. Is there any question that I skipped? Is there anybody that asked the question that I didn't read out?
Okay, someone said, okay, somebody was just, maybe, I think she was talking about when I said about don't be in a hurry to sign a contract.
Okay.
Listen, I still insist, don't be in a hurry to sign a contract. Let me tell you one thing that happened. During my process, there were not too many agencies, but I got a contract from an agency called MedPro before the contract for Avant came in. And by then, I was already communicating with Avant. I hadn't signed a contract with them yet. I was like, let me wait and see what they will offer. And MedPro came in. Their contract came in. Avant's contract came in. I didn't even think about MedPro. MedPro gave me a time. I signed the Avant contract. I didn't respond to MedPro. And I'm glad I didn't. Understand one thing. It doesn't make any sense rushing to sign a contract. It's like somebody, you are 30 years old and you're already thinking that menopause is upon you. And you're waiting for the next first person that just comes near you that proposes to you. You'll be like, no, I'm getting old, not knowing there are better things out there, there are better persons out there, or better relationships that you could get into. Give it time. Consider your options. Agencies are there, except you've not passed Nclex. But if you have passed your Nclex, maybe by yourself or however, don't be in a hurry to sign a contract. It's only time. This time we're talking about is how long? It might just be a matter of few months. And one thing I've learned in this process is it is not the person who starts the immigration process first that crosses over first. No two immigration processes are the same. I know people like with the same Avant, I know people who passed their Nclex with Avant, started their immigration, they filed I-140 for them before other people actually signed the contract to even start the whole process. Those people who started later came to the US even before those who had passed Nclex before them, before they started the whole process. Why? Because you got to USCIS, RFEs here and there, I-140 denials and everything, kept them waiting for a very long time.
All right. Mr. Austin is actually right. I remember when we started our own process, even those we told about the journey, they finally got into US before us. So because of RFEs and all that. So it's not who started the race first. It's immigration that will actually, USCIS states that will decide finally who comes into the US first. All right. Someone resides in the States. I have this question from Ebere. Hi, Mr. Austin. Another question, how is the transportation system like in the US for someone who has no driver's license and travels to the United States? Is entering taxi and Uber cheap? Are there cheaper means of transportation in US aside driving your own car?
Okay, I will answer the question from the back. There are no cheaper, I mean, there is no mode of transportation that is cheaper than having your own vehicle. In some other countries, there could be. Let's say in the UK, they have a good public transportation system. In the US, the public transportation system is not very good, of course, and you will probably see them in big cities. But having your own personal ride means that you can get up and go to wherever you want to go to. You're not dependent on anybody to plan that for you. So if you are in Nigeria, like if I'm looking at your question now, you someone who is and has no driver's license, please, by all means, whether you have a driver's license or not, please learn how to drive in Nigeria and process your driver's license so that when you come in here, I don't expect that you just jump into the road. You might, get around with somebody a few times, get comfortable with behind the wheels, and you start driving. Taxis and Ubers, of course, you can do taxis and Ubers, but the thing is, for how long? In the long run, they may not be the best thing for you to do.
All right. Thank you for answering that question. Ebere, I hope your question is answered. Gloria Obuji is asking, she's thanking you for the presentation, and she then asks, which states do you advise someone to reside in US?
I would say how I answer this question, I'll say I keep an open mind. The fact is that we have not been to the United States. You are coming in for the first time. You have not been there before or been here before. So you don't know exactly where to go to. Anybody can tell you, oh, this state is nice, go there. This state is nice, go there. The question is, your specific situation can make you have a different experience than those people would have. I always give some of these questions. I use myself to give an example. Before I left Nigeria, the only time I heard about Maine is during elections. Okay, this person for presidential candidate wants a certain number of votes in the state of Maine. And when during our time, we had no choice. So we had no options to choose from. We went where we were told to go to. And when I looked at the state of Maine, I can't tell you that I liked what I saw. One, it was where I was coming to at the time was more than 97% white. It snows here from November till March. I have not seen snow in my entire life before. Now, who would imagine that I'll be living here for over 7 years now? So keep an open mind. And like I said, America is so big that if you go to a certain place and you don't like it, you have the opportunity to leave and go somewhere else after you complete your contract. So that's how I answer that question.
Good. All right. I hope your question is answered. I have a question from Claire Ekezie. Hello, thank you very much for all the information you've shared tonight. Can I know why you didn't sign the MedPro contracts, and is it a good agency? Can you cancel the contract on an early stage?
I don't remember exactly why I didn't sign that MedPro contract. Maybe because, okay, let me just try to imagine. I think I reached out to them first. They gave me a condition that I was supposed to meet, even though I had not met that condition. And I think I only just got my visa screen certificate and I sent it back to them. And right away, they sent me a contract. I think their reason then was that I was supposed to be, they wanted someone doing ICU and the ED. So when I sent them my visa screen certificate, they sent me a contract immediately. But with Avant, when I first started with them, I had that personal touch. Somebody would send me an email, I would respond, and sometimes they would call me and all that. I think just that personal touch alone was the reason that I didn't want to go with I didn't go with MedPro at the time. I believe so. And what was the second part of the question?
She asked, let me go back. Can I know why you didn't sign the contract, and is it a good agency? Can you cancel contract on an early stage?
Yeah, you can definitely cancel. There's no country. You are not going into slavery, for crying out loud. You can cancel your contract for good reason. But what I would say is don't just jump out of contract when you don't have a genuine reason. Maybe your friend is with that agency, you want to go with that, or that person tells, oh, that place is better. No. But if there's something that you're very uncomfortable with the contract that you have signed, you can definitely get out of your contract. But the thing again is that if you have had some interactions with them over time, that agency may want to recover some amount from you because they may have done some administrative stuff, even if they're not filed and all that. So you might want to look into that and see if that agency is one that would want to ask you to pay back a certain amount of money. It might be very small, but it's still, they can legally ask for it.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, there are two questions that some three questions that I see here that I think we've skipped them. What of coming over with one's family at once? And what is the meaning of 401k plan? And how do you get a social security number?
Oh, I skipped those ones.
Mosumola, you can definitely come up with your family at once if you choose to. Of course, it's going to be more expenses, more upfront expenses for you. And with the way some agencies operate like Avant, it might not be the best option for you because when you come in with Avant will keep you in Florida for about 5 to 6 weeks where you do your transition. So if you come in with your family, Avant can provide accommodation for you alone. If you come in with your family, where are they going to stay? The only way you can do it is if you have family already here in the US or friends who can harbor your family for the period while you're on transition. Fine, your family could stay with them. I've seen people actually coming with their families, and they stay somewhere in Florida. They have enough money to get accommodation to keep them for that period, and they all stay together while they're undergoing transition. So it all depends on individuals. Some agencies will bring you in immediately with your family, and right away you're with them. But if finance is your challenge, you can come in yourself first, work for a few months, and then you can bring your family over. Say you don't have you don't have the money to pay for all their flight at the same time. But remember, you have a limited time. You have like 6 months from when you're issued that visa to travel. Then the other question was, what's the meaning of 401k plan? 401k plan is like a retirement or pension scheme where you contribute and your employer contributes. So if your agency offers that plan, it means that if you opt into it, your agency or employer might have a certain percentage that they can match if your agency can match your, some agencies will tell you, okay, we can match 50% of whatever you contribute up to a certain percentage. Fine. My advice is this: once you come in, if your agency or your employer offers it, please enroll and take at least the maximum that your agency or your employer is offering. If they're offering, if they'll match up to match 5%, just take whatever it is so that you don't leave money on the table, because they won't contribute if you don't contribute. And it's definitely optional. How do you get a social security number? Social security number, in some cases, social security number should, or it's expected that as soon as you come into the US, go through the port of entry, it automatically activates. And the social security number, a social security card should come to the address that you filled in when you are completing your DS-260 form. In some cases, it delays, and you will be required to go to a nearby social security office to do it. So either way, it does still get activated. And it can take, I've seen social security coming in less than 2 weeks. I've seen it take much longer. In fact, I've seen green cards come before social security card in some cases.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Okay, thank you, sir. Shama Christiana is asking, can you drive with your Nigerian driver's license?
I believe in some states you can. I can speak for the state of Maine. If you come to the state of Maine, you can drive with your Nigerian license for up to 1 year. But once you establish residency, once you claim that state of Maine is where the state you're resident in, you need to get your license, I think, in 3 months. I don't know about other states.
Yeah, it's the same thing with Virginia. All right. Joy is asking, thank you, sir. What if you add your babysitter to your dependents? How many dependents are needed?
Your babysitter is not your dependent.
Not.
I can just answer that question right now.
Please don't add your babysitter. Please, it's gonna mess your process up. It will. I know.
Please,
I know many
please
people.
please don't. I'm begging you. I can kneel down and beg you. Don't, because you want to help your family member, to help somebody, and come and claim somebody that is not that person, and you don't have the papers to back it up.
Mm.
I know of people who are denied visa because of such a thing.
All right. Ejikeme Chikwendo, I believe this question has been answered.
I've already answered. I think I've answered that question.
Yeah. Okay.
It's all right. It's all right.
I just muted these two people. Sorry about that, guys. I have a question coming from Muri Maradun. Hello. For recruitment agency for sponsorship, which agency will you advise me as a registered perioperative nurse?
Well, any agency that is able to offer you a contract to practice as a peri-op nurse, you look at their contract, look at their offer. You feel comfortable, sign their contract. There is no, I don't think I'll be able to recommend, say, this is a particular agency that does well for this particular group. People have had differences, have had different experiences with different agencies.
That's right. And if I'm a perioperative nurse, if you feel maybe the agency you are currently with, they didn't offer you, or whatever they offer you, if you want to try another agency, good. But if you want to stick to that agency, you can decide to come over with them in that same hospital that they are sending you to. When you work for a certain period of time, you can request to be transferred to the OR. Then you start OR 101. You can do that if you really want to work in the OR. It's just like a 6 months to 1 year orientation. Then you write your certification exam. Then that's it. You don't even need to write certification exam, even it's not compulsory, but it's up to you if you want to do that. All right, Olani, with Nigerian training, will you advise someone to go into direct employment while transition training is not offered?
Okay, yeah, Olani. You can go. There is no. The thing is about the US system is this: there is no job you go into in a new facility or in the same facility but a different specialty that you don't go through orientation. Every job provides orientation. Say, for instance, now, if I move from where I am now to go and take up a full-time employment in another facility elsewhere, they will definitely give me orientation. If I move from, say, med-surg, I want to go from med-surg to ICU in my facility, I'll be giving orientation. So it doesn't matter where you're going from, there will be orientation. And if you have to feel comfortable working before you can be left to, before you are left to yourself.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Muri Maradun is asking again for someone's spouse that is not a nurse. She's a fashion designer and beautician. Will the agency that sponsor you look for job for her, or you are in the position to look for job for her?
Muri again. Sometimes your agency, I've seen agencies help. I've seen hospitals help to provide job for spouses who are not nurses. But remember, okay, you said you came late. If you have your social security number, you have your green card, you can look for a job yourself. It may not be what you were practicing before, but there will always be job for you to do once you're willing to work.
Okay. And to add to that, Murray, so if your wife is a beautician and maybe she has a shop back home in Nigeria, a beauty salon and all that, when she comes into the country and she decides to still have that same shop here in the United States, okay? You can chat me up. We can talk about that. I can guide her to register and get an LLC. Okay, it's a process actually, but we can talk about that sometime. Maybe we'll fix a date to discuss that. It's an LLC, you register and you get funds to fund her business. Let's not deviate though. We'll talk about that next time, but she can certainly do the same thing she's doing back home over here in the United States, and she'll be very good. Beautician and salons, they're actually making money. So if she's good at what she does, definitely just encourage her. She will cope very well when she comes over to this place. All right, it's a package I'm offering now. It's another part of, it's something that I started doing newly, helping people to register an LLC, apply for federal or register them under their state portals for them to, bid some contracts and all that. That's a topic for another day. But I have another question coming from someone else. It says, as a citizen, please, can I bring over my adopted child legally? The child is legally adopted.
Yeah. Once you have your documents, legally adopted since 2016, is over 2 years. So just be sure that whatever documents you are filling, you're asked who are your children, you are filling that person's name there. You can definitely bring the person. But you said as a citizen, doesn't mean that you're not going to come, because you cannot become a citizen until you come over here. My strong advice would be come with that child when you're coming over.
If for
any reason you're not going to come with that child when you're coming over, make sure that child's name appears on your application, and then have the child what we call have the child as on the status of follow to join. That's a different status.
All right. Okay. Olani, was that? No, it's a different person. All right. I hope your question is answered. iPhone 14 Pro Max. I didn't see your name there. Olani is asking again, what is the difference between green card and citizenship?
Okay. I will be able to. I mean, there's not very big difference actually. But I'll just outline a few things. Green card is something that is temporary, even if it's called permanent residency, but green card has a period, elapses after a certain number of years. For this process that you're doing, your green card is valid for 10 years. So what it means is that if you're on that green card and you don't become a citizen when you are supposed to be, when you get to that 10 years, for you to continually be resident in the US, you have to apply for a renewal of your green card. I don't know the process for that. I don't know if anybody who has waited until they got to that point, since you can apply for citizenship after 5 years. But once you become a citizen, that is it. You don't need any more renewals anymore. A green card holder cannot have a US passport. A green card holder cannot vote in a US election or be voted for. A citizen will get a US passport. A citizen can vote and be voted for. The only position you cannot vie for if you were not born in the US as a citizen is the position of president, but you can vie for any position at all. As a green card holder, there are certain government jobs that you may not be able to apply for. I don't know how many nurses will actually want to go into government jobs. As a citizen, you can apply for any job at all that you want to.
All right, that's a great insight. Thank you so much, Mr. Austin. We really appreciate you, giving in your best to attend to all our questions. Thank you for your time today. It's difficult to get hold of you these days, but for us to have you here tonight, it's a big privilege. We really appreciate. We have a few more questions before we come to the end of this session. And Bankole is asking, thank you once again, sir. Please, based on the economy of US right now, what's the minimum pay rate one should accept from an agency and will not regret?
That's an advice I wouldn't be able to give, because there's information available on the internet. Because when they're giving you a contract, if they tell you where you're going to be working at, if they tell you where you're working at, you probably check what the cost of living is going to be around there. If you want me to mention a figure at this time, I don't think any agency should in good conscience offer anybody anything less than $30. I'm just going as low as $30. Let me just put that as my bottom line.
Okay. All right. I hope your question is answered, Bankole. Chama Vera Oba, please, she came in late actually. What are recommended agencies? How about Passports USA? Are they good agency?
Well, Passport USA, I don't recommend agencies, really. Like I said, people have different experiences with different agencies. First of all, the agency that you'll be looking at is the agency whose requirements you meet. Have you passed Nclex? Are they going to sponsor you for Nclex and all that stuff? If you asked me about Passport USA some years ago, I'll tell you don't even cross there. It looks like they have reset and things are going well for them now. Whatever agency you're going into, look at what they offer and see whether it meets your needs. Ask people to look into the contract you're getting from them, and then you can decide whether you want to go with them or not.
All right. Thank you, sir. I have a last question coming from Yetunde. I'm sorry I was logged out. Can my stepson be my dependent?
Of course, if your stepson, I'm assuming that your stepson means a son to your spouse, right?
Yes.
That's what, if I get that correct. If that is what it means, then your stepson can come in because your stepson is a child of your spouse.
Yes.
So that your stepson can definitely come in.
Okay. And Yetunde, I believe he answered your question. Chamavera Obasa, you don't recommend agencies. So what do you recommend for someone who has passed the Nclex?
For somebody who has passed Nclex, there are different agencies that offer so many things. I don't think I'll be able to go through all the names of all the agencies. Like for those who take people who have passed Nclex, Passport USA is one. Westways is there. Interstaff is there. OGP is there. Avant Healthcare is there. Connectis is there. I think there's some that we've mentioned in recent times that I'm not even aware of. The thing is, reach out to any of these agencies, at least 3 of them, and see if they offer you a contract. Look at what their contract is before you make a decision.
Someone just came in now and she's asking a question. I was almost about calling it a night.
Peace asks if if she can become a citizen automatically at the elapse of her green card. Nope. Your green card expires, you apply for renewal. If you allow your green card to expire after 10 years and you don't apply for renewal, you'll be out of status and you'll be living in the United States illegally. Now, the question is, if you have 10 years, if you have a 10-year validity on your green card and you can actually apply for citizenship after 5 years, why would you not apply for it?
Okay, I think that's the question you just answered now from eBay.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
And Sabina is asking, how long can one stay before visiting Nigeria? My sister, as soon as you come in here and your your green card enters your hand, you can travel back to Nigeria and come back if you want. That's the beauty of the green card. That's the beauty of the green card, or you becoming a citizen. You can go and come whenever you want. I think I'm not certain, but as a green card holder, there's a certain number of years that you should not stay out of the United States within a 12-month period. I can't remember how many exactly that is. Let me not give you wrong information. But as a citizen, I'm a citizen now. I can go back to Nigeria and stay the next 10 years and come back whenever I want.
All right. I think that's the last question we have for tonight's session with Boss Austin Christopher. I believe all your questions were answered. Please, can we all go to the comment section and say a very big thank you to Mr. Austin Christopher for his time tonight with us. Please, Mr. Austin, we really appreciate you. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you all so much. I appreciate. I'm reading I'm seeing all your messages coming in now. Thank you so much, and I wish you all speed in your journey. While you wait for retrogression, be patient, continue living your life. One thing I've realized with this whole journey is that there is no time that you come that is late. Anytime you come in is the best time for you. I was on my process for a very long time, and when I came in, it didn't feel like I had missed out anything. Yeah, Peace, you're asking my Facebook ID. Just look for me on Facebook. It's my picture there. And I think probably my picture and that of my wife. Just my full name, Augustine Christopher, and you can send me a message there. I would accept.
Yeah. Austin Christopher, that's the name on Facebook. All right. All right.
It's Augustine Christopher, not Austin Christopher, please.
Augustine Christopher, yes. All right. Thank you so much, sir. We are grateful and we can't thank you enough. Thank you and thank you and thank you for joining us tonight. We really appreciate you, sir.
All right. Good night, everyone.
All right, sir. Good night, sir.